we go. The new and improved opening. How's everybody doing? Patrick, Leo, how do you watch a little bit of football yesterday?
Did indeed, yes. Especially the 4-hour Chelsea Benfica epic that it ended up being. So I was up to about 2 a.m. last night.
That was crazy. I went out. I watched the end of the U21 because that was a long match as well, and then the other one went into a delay, and we're like, messing around doing other stuff. Went out to dinner, and I came home and I saw a post, and I was like, what? Like this handball, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And then I looked on my phone and in live score, and I'm like, wait a second, this match is still going. Like it started at 4:00. This was at 8. This was at 8 something, 8 o'clock maybe, and I was just like, how the hell is this match still going? And then Chelsea scored three goals to open it up. But I mean, it between that and the U21 match, and the first match because it went to extra time too. I mean, three extra time matches, extra overtime, extra time, and bonus football all over the place yesterday. Leo, were you watching all those matches?
I watched the Palmeiras versus Botafogo, so maybe we can start talking with it because it was the first of the day or night, depending on where you are on the planet, and then the European final between England and Germany, which was a really enjoyable match, to be honest. You, Patrick, what did you watch yesterday?
Yeah, so I watched Palmeiras Botafogo, and then it went into extra time. So I had a few other things to do, so I thought I'd make the decision. I'll just stick to the Club World Cup matches, and then instantly regretted it when I started seeing the goals go in, the under-21s. But I caught the recap of it this morning. But yeah, mostly focused on the Club World Cup to my regret there, to be fair, because the under-21 final looked fantastic.
Yeah. And if we can start with Palmeiras Botafogo, it was a game like we predicted yesterday with Sean and Pedro. It was very tight with a lot of fouls, 9 shots but 0 on targets. I think for Palmeiras, the biggest chance in the first half was certainly Richard Rios' shot. Then in the second half, Palmeiras went better and better, notably by Estevao, who at the beginning of the second half showed very dangerous on Botafogo's goal. And John, we have to say, he did a really good performance despite the defeat and the elimination of his side.
Yeah, I would agree there. I would say that John was their outstanding player. To be fair, when I was making notes, most of my notes were on Palmeiras' play because I don't really think Botafogo showed up for a lot of it. They seemed to... I looked at the previous games. It looked like they were undefeated in their previous 5, and it just looked like they didn't show any of that in their outlay, especially early doors. They got stuck in. Obviously, it was going to be a physical match between two rivals, but it looked like the stall, sort of the plan for the game was set up quite early with the amount of fouls going through. I was looking at making up a new stat because obviously XG, expected goals, is the thing. I was trying to think if they did expected reds, because I was quite surprised that it only ended up at the 1 red card in the match given the amount of fouls. It was a meaty encounter, but I really don't think Botafogo showed their best in that game, especially as they've had the better of Palmeiras in previous meetings. I feel their fans are probably quite disappointed. The team will be disappointed in that. But Palmeiras were very fun to watch. I think the opening 15 minutes of the second half, they were fantastic. And I was like, bar some great defending or goalkeeping from John, they should have probably won that match before it had to go to extra time. But I think in extra time, Botafogo, when the goal went in, they started playing really good. Started playing really attacking football put Palmeiras under a lot of pressure. So my question would have been, why did you not try that a bit more in the 90 minutes? But it's one of those things, I suppose. When a team goes 1-0 down, they have to throw everything at it. But I thought Palmeiras deserved the win. I wouldn't watch it again if there was a replay of it, but I thought it was a fair result. I think Palmeiras probably felt they should have won it by 2 or 3, maybe, if not for some great goalkeeping by John.
Yeah. And you, Sean?
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that. Palmeiras is probably clearly the better side in this tournament, and I thought played better yesterday. It wasn't a great game, but I think Palmeiras once again will think at this point that they'll be able to maybe make a semifinal and knock off Chelsea. So I think that would be pretty interesting. I know. I think Manchester United is scouting the Botafogo keeper as well, the one who stood on his head yesterday and made those saves. So I thought that was interesting to watch. He's a pretty good player. So just something for United fans as they try to get rid of that calamity in net. But it's I think the other two matches of the day were clearly a little bit more eventful than that one.
Yeah, but just to say a last thing about this game, Palmeiras versus Botafogo, I think, as Patrick said, it's logical to see Palmeiras qualify. It was the team with the most protagonism in that game. And in my opinion, but it's quite personal, what made the difference was the depth of the squad, because we saw that the substitutes were very dangerous to Botafogo. They really bring something in the squad. It was not just substitute someone. It was really here that the difference was made, in my opinion. And in the next game, it will be interesting to watch 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 play against Chelsea, because he will be a Chelsea player in a few. So
yep,
it will be quite interesting.
When we talk about the next game, first, I want to talk about something first because Enzo Maresca crushed the touring, branded a joke, the weather delay. His exact words were, after the break, the game changed completely. I think for me personally, it's not football. It's already 7, 8, 9 games suspended. I think it's a joke, to be honest. It's not football. It's not for us. You cannot be inside for too long. But if you suspend 7, 8 games, it means probably not the right place to for this tournament. Now, people have been talking about this multiple times. How are you going to have the tournament here next year? All this stuff. So I think the majority of the delays have been either in Cincinnati, Charlotte, or Nashville, and I think Orlando as well, which is known for the bad weather. Not one of those places will be hosting a World Cup tour game next year. Dallas is hosting. That's an indoor stadium with a capacity of 94,000. Atlanta is hosting. There's no weather issues there. Houston is hosting. No weather issues there. San Francisco Bay Area, there's no lightning ever there. So that's an issue. Los Angeles is indoors. There's never any lightning anyway. So Seattle, there's no thunderstorms. So you got Boston, Miami, New York, New Jersey, East Rutherford, where the final will be, Kansas City. So I think you're going to have not as much of an issue with these storms next year. So people can start worrying about that. Now we go to the game. Chelsea's winning. They go to this long delay. They come back out, and Gusto decided, hey, we haven't been playing long enough. I'm going to put my hand up and give away a penalty in the 5th minute of stoppage time. And we extended the game, and then all hell broke loose because there's red card, and then Chelsea decided to make subs and win the game. But up until that point, up until the rain delay, I thought it was a pretty even match. After the rain delay, the goes to extra time, you're like, man, Benfica's got a chance here. And then, like, I don't know, 2 minutes in, red card. And then at that point, I think everyone thought Benfica was going to try to just hold on. They couldn't, right? Is that basically what happened there?
Yeah, you summed it up. Yeah, you summed it up very well, Sean. I just want to, like, another point on Enzo Maresca. They're briefed before these tournaments started on protocols around weather, so it's just needless complaining, really. I know it's frustrating for him, but it could happen to any team and has happened to other teams. So, put a pin in that. Enzo, move on. They've got through, so I'm sure he would have been complaining a lot more if they had lost. But yeah, as for the game, definitely. Chelsea obviously had better chances, dominated the attacking side. Benfica were holding off very firmly. I think that the true man in goal and Antonio Silva were fantastic. They stopped so many. And I think that Cucurella wouldn't want to see Antonio Silva for a long time after this match. Cucurella, who had a fantastic game, as well as James for Chelsea, just brilliant attacking play from wing backs. But Benfica weren't really showing their attacking side too well with like Di Maria, Leandro Barrio, Florentine Luis. They sort of held back a lot, gave Chelsea too much of the ball. And I think before the rain break, I think they probably looked resigned to losing. So I'd say they were delighted when the weather warning came in. Gave them that little extra time to debrief, have a sort of thoughts of the game, what they could do in the little time they had left. Whereas it looked like Chelsea were just annoyed at the break and then continued that annoyance into the final few minutes. And ultimately, it did cost them, because I'd say if that match hadn't have had the break, they would have won at 1-0 likely. But they were very impressive in extra time, Benfica, but in the first half of extra time, but the red card killed it. The last few minutes, Di Maria, it was great to see him get on the score sheet, because it's his now last game for the club before he goes back to Argentina. They were impressive in the last few minutes, and it looked to be impressive at the start of extra time until Prestiani got that red card. And obviously then the flurry of goals came in, and c'est la vie. Chelsea got the job done maybe a couple of hours later than they expected, but they'll get through. And they showed, I think, Sean, you were saying yesterday about the sort of Jekyll and Hyde nature of Chelsea. I think they showed a lot of that yesterday, and that will give Palmeiras a lot of hope going into their quarterfinal.
Yeah, and to be honest, I was kind of disappointed by Benfica, because I think they played like a small team against Chelsea. They were dominated in quite in too much areas of the game, from possession to shouting, even aerial duels. They were under Chelsea. Trubin made a really, really good performance, but in my opinion, on Reece James' opener, he made a fault. He shouldn't take the goal at his first post. It's forbidden at this level, and yeah, it was like, as we said, for Palmeiras versus Botafogo, it was quite logical to see Chelsea win this game in final.
Interesting too. I mean, I think, you said like the keeper, if the keeper makes a save on the first goal there, because it went under him, and Otamendi did an unbelievable job keeping the first ball out. I mean, really, it's a tapping at the back post there, and Cuckoo scores. But if the keeper saves that, there's 15, 12 minutes, something like that left. Maybe that's, maybe they get to penalties, but man, you can't, it gets under you, and you're like, it goes in, and at that point there, you're like, that's it, game over. Chelsea's probably now Benfica's got to attack, and then Chelsea scored 2 more goals. But it was interesting. I thought maybe we were gonna be headed to penalties, and then all of a sudden, that mistake. But that was the second game of the day, and then was really the third game of the day at that point. The middle game was the U21 final, which turned out to be a really, really interesting contest. And we said there was going to be goals, and there were. England's leading 2-0, and I think Scott went off injured right before halftime, and it changed the game a little bit. And Germany scored right before halftime, and then got the equalizer. And then from that point on, it was really. I mean, Germany's got to be kicking themselves. They hit the crossbar at the end of regulation, at the end of the extra time. I mean, really had multiple chances to score, and but it's England that wins back-to-back titles with this team, and Harvey Elliott ends up winning the Player of the Tournament instead of 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤. What were your thoughts on this game?
To be honest, first, what we can say is that it was the best of the 3 games of yesterday. There were a lot of intensity. To be honest, during the first half, I thought that Germany would never. I wouldn't thought Germany to come back in that game. They were terrible if we speak about just defense. Each time England wanted to go and shoot into the goal, it was an occasion to score. They were terrible. The first goal is an error. The second two, there were a lot of space in Germany's defense, and they scored against with a goal we didn't expect. Then the second one was extraordinary because it was really difficult to just imagine and to realize, because it was in a wide angle and really, really difficult. And at the end of the game, and at the end of the additional time, we can say that England is kind of lucky, because if you watched the game, you know that at the 19th minute, I think it was Nebel who hit the woodwork, and at the end of extra time, they hit the woodwork again, Germany. So England were saved twice by their woodwork at the end, at the very last second of the game.
Yep.
Yeah, from the highlights I watched, it looked like England were very, like the 2-0 was very flattering towards them. Germany looked like they were dominating possession. I think they had ended with 58% of the overall possession of the match. I think 730 shots to 560 as well. So there were 30 shots in the goal, so it was like an absolute barnstormer of a game. I'd say, again, Germany obviously not hitting the bar is counted as a shot off. Hitting the bars are counted as shot off target. So like that sort of deflects a bit. Like they had a lot more chances. That beautiful goal from Nebel was stunning, but their general play was better. England picked their moments earlier, but again, it was sort of lapses in Germany's concentration and defense that sort of allowed Harvey Elliott to get that goal. He got a second more than he should have, managed to pick a spot and get that goal in early. But yeah, Germany probably would be scratching their heads as to why they had to face extra time, let alone lose the match.
Yeah. What did you think about this game, Sean?
I thought it was, it was pretty high level. Both of these teams have talented players. It's interesting though. It's a U21 and 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤's 23, so I know how that works with it. It's not really U21, is it? But like because it's the cycle and whatnot. But it's 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤's going to go to Bayern, and we'll see how he does there, because he was pretty good with Stuttgart, and he's got Harry Kane. Harvey Elliott, I just he had the injury. He scores some goals when he comes in for Liverpool, but where is he going to play? I mean, he's not going to play ahead of some of these other people. So, is his future in Liverpool or is it somewhere else? But the goal that won it, I thought, was a really nice header. It was a the great cross from the I forget who played the ball in, but it's always interesting to see what these players, the U21 players, will go on and do in their careers, because there's a lot of people like Bellingham could be playing for that team, but he's obviously advanced beyond that level. So the players at this U21 level, I saw you saw somebody was saying like, why doesn't Manchester United have any players on this team or whatever? And it's just like, look, I mean, the U21 is like, you're almost like trying to describe, like it's almost like a holding pattern type of team. You want them to go for the summer because you get some experience and you get international tournaments, but if you're really that good, you're probably on the senior team at this point. So it's a weird age group for me. You don't usually see a lot of the players that start at the U21 level go on and become stars in the Premier League or whatever. Maybe they go on and become stars for Middlesbrough or QPR or something like this. Yeah. But to follow the careers of some of these players, and I didn't for the French team, like Leo, you probably know more about that. Like I don't know if those guys are going to step up and into them. It won't be under Deschamps anyway, because that guy doesn't want to play any talented youth players. He wants to play guys that are 40 years old and 38 years old, and just until they run into the ground. So after Deschamps leave, maybe maybe some of those players will get in, but it was a good game, and I think the tournament was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, and we have to pay tribute to 𝐊𝐤𝐤 in my opinion, because he won back-to-back. He just won back-to-back under-21 European Championships. He trained the England senior team. I think he won 5 of his 6 games at the end of this team. So yeah, he had known some years really good for him, and we have to give credit to that, because it demands a lot of work to success like he did.
No, I agree, and especially as he managed to regroup his players after the group stage defeat to Germany as well. So
yeah,
he's obviously looked at it tactically, fixed some tweaks, and absolutely credit to him. I don't know if he's going to get many offers. It'll be an interesting summer for him now to see if he gets any offers from clubs. I can't see any big clubs offer him, but again, sort of like maybe a Middlesbrough or something like maybe a championship team. I don't know if he wants to stay or if he just really likes the setup at the minute with the under-21s, but I'd like to see him get a couple of offers and see if he wants to sort of go into club management.
Yeah, because I think if he asks his federation to stay at the head of the U21, they will not fire him because of everything he did. So in his position, he has the choice to decide what he wants to do, and it's quite good for him.
Yeah, I think he's gonna, if he wants to leave, I think he'd probably get some pretty decent offers from some of those championship clubs.
Yeah, possible.
So we got 2 matches today, and there's the Gold Cup, but we don't care about that. PSG and Inter Miami. The Gold Cup matches yesterday were actually interesting because it's a North American tournament, and Mexico beat Saudi Arabia, so that's always find that because there's not enough teams in CONCACAF, so they always invite these other teams, and every once in a while, one will get to semifinal or something like this, or South America. CONCACAF does that, or not. CONMEBOL does that too sometimes with the because there's only 11 teams playing, so to make it even, they invite US and something like this, and then all of a sudden you see a South American semifinal and it's some team from like Asia or somewhere else. I always think that's funny. But PSG plays Inter Miami at 12 Eastern here at Mercedes-Benz. No weather issues for that contest. Flamengo plays Bayern in the Hard Rock Stadium at 4 o'clock. Which of these two games, because Bayern and PSG are both heavily favored, which of these two games do you think has a better chance to see an upset, if there's one?
In my opinion, the Flamengo Bayern Munich, clearly. You said it will be no weather issue for the Inter Miami PSG game, but it will be a lot of electricity because of everything we have said before between Lionel Messi and PSG. Even if we go back further with Jordi Alba, all these Barcelona ex-players, we used to play against PSG, who eliminated them from the Champions League and everything. It will be quite interesting to watch, but I think the Flamengo Bayern Munich will be the most entertaining of the day because Flamengo was one of the four, I think it was one of the 4 best Brazilian team at the World Cup so far. They are really intense. They have experienced player. They have quality. They have their fans, which is quite important. We saw that in that tournament. So and Bayern, who crushed Auckland, but who lost their last group game against Benfica, but they have a lot of good player also. So it will be quite interesting to watch this game, and hopefully we will not have weather issues like yesterday because it was kind of long.
Yeah, and I think Flamengo, they're so defensively solid as well, so they could, and like they will, set up a deep block just to try and stop Bayern Munich's like natural pressing style. Pulgar and Jorginho, I think Pulgar in midfield will have to sort of do a brilliant day's work against if it's probably going to be Kimmich and Goretzka. But Bayern have shown that they can have an off day, as they did against Benfica. Flamengo are very hard to score against. They're defensively so sound. So I'm looking forward to that, and I do feel with the lack of weather issues, we could have a shock because Flamengo are probably just more used to playing in a decent level of heat than Bayern would be. I think Bayern are going to need to take advantage of any sort of lapses in Flamengo's defense to get through. They obviously have the players to be able to do that as well. So it's just sort of if Flamengo go out there with a strong mindset, believe in themselves, keep to their game plan, I do feel they can pull off a shock.
And we have to recall that the 2 winners of these games will meet in the quarterfinals. So we can have a PSG Bayern Munich in the next round. And you
repeat of the 2020 final of the Champions League.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about these games, Sean?
I think Messi's obviously will be excited to play PSG. PSG's if they play to anywhere near their level of they played in the Champions League final, this game will be not competitive. I think it's PSG. When you looked back at their run to the Champions League, remember in the match day 6 at the group stage, they were 25th, and then they had to beat City, and then they went on this run. They beat Brest, they beat Liverpool, they beat Aston Villa, they beat Arsenal, and then they smoked Inter. So I think when they start to they know how to turn this on when they get to the knockout stages. They just did it. So I think they'll have no issues with that. I think you'll see them start to raise their level a little bit here. ahead of the potential game with Bayern Munich. They will know they have to be on Wednesday. Or no, that game is July 4th, I think. So I think that match is at 3:00 on the 4th of July, which is a major holiday here, which will be interesting. But I think they know they have to raise their level a little bit, and I think they will take care of business pretty well. I expect, I was trying to go through. I said Manchester City on the top half of the bracket. I expect it to be PSG and Real Madrid in the semifinals. So I think PSG will, play well today. The Bayern Flamengo game, I think that's going to be a much closer game. I think that's of the two. If PSG can go out and win relatively easily today and take some players off and sub some players out, obviously they're not in the heat either because it'll be in Atlanta. So while Bayern's going to, possibly have to struggle to break down in the heat. So I think that bodes well maybe for PSG's recovery as well. So I think the second game will be pretty interesting, though. I think Flamengo has a shot maybe to do what the other games, maybe drag them to extra time and see if they can make it more of attrition.
And to be honest, I think that if PSG raise the level, they can absolutely crush Inter Miami. But crush like 4-5-0, really, or maybe 5-1, but they can be really, really superior.
PSG. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was
just going to say.
Yeah, talk about
PSG, sort of the masters of momentum since the turn of the year, especially as you say, match day against Man City. From then on, they just turned on the jets. I think the big bonus for them is that they have so many players who are individually fantastic on one-on-ones. Kvaratskhelia, Hakimi, who's just an outstanding player, to name just two. Whereas Inter Miami will probably be relying on Messi to be given the freedom to roam, to create chances. So that'll be a lot of pressure on him. So I think if he has a great game, they might have a chance. But yeah, as I say, the masters of momentum, I think, will go out there knowing what they need to do. They'll probably try and finish the job early so they can get a few subs in as well. But yeah, I see a PSG win pretty easily tonight.
Yeah.
We got number one in Manchester United insider, Sully, checking in. How's it going, Sully? Thanks for checking in. We appreciate it. Obviously,
hey, Sully.
Anytime you want to come on, you let me know. Just DM me. I was going to say to that, sometimes with these young teams, because PSG is a young team, big up, mate. There you go. PSG is a young team. It takes a little bit to click, and then once it clicks, they know how talented they are. Doué and these players, and all the players that come up. Once again, we talked about how the player next week, Mbuemo. There we go. Big breaking news there from Sully. The players coming through, the kid had to go in the final, the 18-year-old kid. They have all this talent coming through, and it just takes a little bit to click. Hey, I'm a PSG player. I know I'm really good, but hey, we're still on this big stage, and even though you're on good wages, you're all this stuff. It's a mental game at this point, and it just takes a little bit. And then once it clicks, they beat City. Hey, man, we're the best. If you go and listen to their interviews, they said that when we beat them, that's when we knew we could do it. Then when we beat Liverpool, we knew we were going to go on and win. It just clicks. And now this is a team that thinks every time they go on the pitch, they're going to win. So, I wouldn't expect anything more than a pretty big win today. Inter Miami has talent, but, they're old. And I think they're going to get run around by these young legs of PSG.
Yeah, but just if I was a PSG player, I'll do everything I can to make the match easy for myself, because, as we said, in the next round, they could cross the road with Bayern Munich. And then it's likely to be against Real Madrid in the semi-final, before maybe a final against Manchester City. So it's quite difficult, and more of that because of the weather, the rest delays, and everything. They should enjoy this game and make their point rapidly, quickly, because they will need energy to go through.
Yeah, I think that the team momentum that we've been discussing for them, obviously the Man City match was important, but the Liverpool first leg game where they probably should have won it 6-0, but somehow contrived to lose 1-0 against Liverpool. I think the belief that they had to take that defeat on the chin, say we were the better side, and go out in the second leg, do the same, and get over the line, and then just continue on the run to win the Champions League, is as impressive as anything I've seen in the last couple of seasons in football, because PSG were quite famous for capitulating, shooting themselves in the foot, finding ways to grasp defeat from the jaws of victory. So I think this team just think they can beat anything that comes in front of them at the minute.
And I think they can beat any team if they want.
And then just a quick reminder: tomorrow, Inter plays Fluminense in the early match. Tomorrow goes to 3 and 9 Eastern time. So Inter plays Fluminense, another Brazilian team there. And Man City plays 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 at 9 o'clock. They put them on late because nobody cares about City and no one's going to watch them.
And if you have to give some bet, if you have to bet on these two games
today,
what do you think?
PSG -2, -1.5, maybe -1.5. I think they win easily. I think they win, 3 something, 3-0, something like that. They could take the pedal off. I think Bayern probably wins, but 2-1, something like this. I don't know, 1-0. Bayern's very talented, but it's just a weird team. They're like a more talented Chelsea, if that makes sense. They play well. They're very talented, but I don't know. They just aren't good enough in some games. The more I watch them, the more I think they can't win this tournament. They could. But I just don't. Me personally, I just don't think they're gonna beat Flamengo, PSG, Real Madrid, Manchester City to win this tournament. I just don't think they can win 4 matches in a row like that. I think PSG could do that. I think Real Madrid could do it because they have a little bit easier road. Juventus, I guess it's all right. Manchester City is going to walk to the final again, but I just don't see Bayern able to do that, to put 4 matches in a row together. You just saw it. I mean, they could and against Benfica, and they just I don't think they're good enough. I think they find a way to win, but I would say maybe they win today 2-1, but something like this.
Yeah, I think with Bayern Munich, I would agree with you, but I think if Bayern Munich, they pepper the goal so often, and so if one will eventually go in. So I think that's another. Sometimes when their actual formation doesn't seem to work for them, or the tactical tweaks, they just pepper the goal with shots, and one of those will eventually go in. I feel that they may lose this one, so I'll go with an extra time. Penalty shootout win tonight with Bayern going out, and in the PSG match, I'm going to say 5-0 to PSG.
Patrick, I have to agree with you because I wanted to talk about that Bayern game. I think it will be a game like it was against Boca Juniors, a tricky game with a lot of intensity. Brazilian team have shown that they have some tricks to lose time, to have a psychological ascendant on their opponent. I think it will go to the penalty shootout, and then I can't say if Bayern will go through, even if I think that Bayern will qualify. I can't assure it as I can with PSG, for example. It will be really disputed and it will be really tough and really cool, fun to watch, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. That's my pick of the game. It will be a competitive match, unlike the PSG game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, a little bit. Oh, I mean, there's a couple Gold Cup games, but once again, I don't really want to talk about it.
What do you think about the Gold Cup so far? Because
I haven't watched
I
any
did
of it, to be honest.
not even the USA.
I don't really care about the American team, to be honest. Like, not full transparency. Like, it's just the level of play is not the same. I just don't care. I'm a Manchester United fan, club over country and stuff like that. Like, I just don't care. I mean, if like they're in the final, I'll probably watch it. If they get to the final, they play Costa Rica today, which will be a tough match. There's yesterday, Honduras beat Panama yesterday in penalties. So that was a little bit of an upset. Mexico will play Honduras. U.S. will play Canada probably if Canada beats Guatemala and U.S. beats Costa Rica. Canada's been pretty good, but once again, like the level of it's like good for CONCACAF. Like these teams, none of these teams will have a chance. Like we won't do anything at the World Cup. Like there's just no way. The European teams are so much better on that level. But I mean, if I'm home and I'm bored, I might turn it on. But like I have no interest in the Canada Guatemala game. Like I'm not gonna miss the Bayern to watch that. But
and can Mexico face USA before the final?
No, Mexico will play Mexico, and then now Mexico plays Honduras in the semifinals, so Mexico will win that. So Mexico will be in the final against either Canada or US. That would be my guess.
Okay. And because Sully talked about Mbemo, what do you think about this recruit?
He scored a lot of goals. We need goals because Asmus is not good enough up top. You got to have goals from somewhere else. Garnacho ran out of steam, and he doesn't want to be there anyway. They got to have Cunha is now. Cunha scores goals, and Buemo scores goals. They have players coming through. Hopefully Cheeto can score some goals, but once again, he's very young. But he played pretty well for Denmark this summer. They need a 9. It looks, maybe they're signing Dominic Calvert-Lewin on a free, which I don't backup. I don't know if he helps you or whatever, but he's probably an upgrade over their backups. Or 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 probably can score some goals. They got to get rid of Højlund. He's not good enough, but. I mean, Buemo scored a lot of goals last year in a team that was about the same as United. So they have to raise the floor.
Yeah,
United before they get to before they can start going to here, the floor has to be raised. I mean, that's I'm sure Patrick would agree with that.
I read yesterday that Marcus Rashford would love to play as a 9. Do you think it could be a good option?
I can't. Look, Rashford has to go because of off the field stuff. Like Patrick, I don't know if like you might have heard some of this. Like I can't I don't want to make allegations on here, but like there's a lot of stuff going on with him off the field. He needs to change the scenery, bad agents, whatever, all this stuff. But I don't think he's. First of all, he doesn't want to be there. But I just don't think he's good enough. I think there's a few things with him. I think during COVID, and that time, I think they ran him into the ground a little bit. I think he played a lot, injured ankles and stuff like this, and I think his body's starting to break down. So I think that's one thing with him. The other stuff is all the off the field stuff that like we'll get off. We'll talk off the air about that. But I don't think he's the answer. And if Barcelona wants him and wants to pull 16 levers to get this guy and pay. I mean, we're not sending you for like you got to pay. Listen, we want him. Give us the money because he's an academy grad, and that goes towards the PSL stuff. all the stupid rules, man.
Because Patrick, you are also a Manchester United fan, if I'm not mistaken.
For my sins, yes. Yeah, no, I am. I agree with Rashford needs a change. I like Rashford saying that he could do a number 9. Like comparing it to, like, say, something like Højlund, like Andrew Nana could do a better job as a 9 than Højlund's doing at the minute. So
you can't compare the level. If you say we're comparing him to the job Højlund did, like that has to be like, like I'm convinced probably one of us could do a better job, but you have to. There has to be a better, like Dominic Calvert-Lewin as a backup is probably going to be able to do more than Højlund. But no, Rashford has to go. I think he's got to move on. Rashford, Anthony, the player, they got to move on. They need to rebuild around a younger core.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think it's been an odd one because obviously Jim Ratcliffe didn't do any favors to United by, like, for the transfer market value by doing that interview where he basically said they're a terrible group of players and they shouldn't be here. I mean, I don't understand the reasoning behind doing that when you're wanting to then sell them a couple of months later. But it's the circus act that we have at United at the minute. But I agree, from the bottom up, it needs to be torn apart. I don't think Rashford wants to play for us anymore. He's like, he can still do a job. He did decent for Aston Villa last season. I think they overblew how well he did. I think it was a bit over the top. He did a decent job in a few games for them. But yeah, no, we need younger, more motivated, happier players. Everyone seems just really annoyed to play for United at the minute. So
players aren't out in the casino at 3 a.m. two nights before the match.
But it's a complicated task for Manchester United to recruit, because I don't know how much Ineos wants to inject in the club. But I know that, for example, because they own Nice also in France, and they don't want to give them some money for this mercato. They were on a 2 million euros target, and they couldn't afford that. So what's the point with that? I don't know, and it will be interesting to watch. And if we can just talk 2 minutes about transfer market. Paul Pogba has officially signed for Monaco yesterday. I don't know if you saw the video. When he signed this contract, he was in tears because of, and I found it really, really cool images, because it shows he qualified his situation as a nightmare, as we can all guess. But now we can see what it means for him to play football.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really hope it works out for him. I really do. I think it was, I know the 18-month ban was crazy when the facts came out afterwards that he inadvertently took the substance and it had no effect. It only has effect on female players or females generally, so it had no effect on him, and he did it by accident. So I could not. And
he didn't play. He didn't play while he was in just while he ate this thing. So it's. Yeah. But I can understand. But it's cool to see. And in my opinion, he will do whatever it takes to rejoin France and play the World Cup next year, because he has really good relationships with Didier Deschamps. In France, our midfield is not really good. We have some good players, but it's quite movable. Aurélien Tchouameni doesn't give what we want him to give. Camavinga is often injured. We have Matteo Guendouzi is good, but if Pogba heals and plays a lot of games and everything, he will be a starter at the next World Cup, because he's one of the most talented players on the planet. In my opinion, I think if he's in full form, he's one of the best players in the world.
Absolutely.
And And if we and the last word about Ligue 1, Olivier Giroud is going to sign for Lille too. So it's interesting to watch all the World Cup champion come back to France.
Oh, fantastic. What age is Olivier Giroud now? Is he 37, 36?
38.
38? Wow.
Yeah. But it's a move I don't really understand because, okay, Lille, if we recap, Lille lost Jonathan David, who will sign for Napoli or Juventus. But Olivier Giroud, so he's 38, and he is not the same profile. I think his salary will be high. Lille has ambitions, so it's strange, but it's cool to see him back on the pitch in France because it helps the championship to grow, and we need that.
Oh no, exactly. Extra eyes are needed, especially Pogba is going to draw. No matter what, so that'll be fantastic for the league. And might put a little bit of a quiet time on Cristiano Ronaldo, who apparently says that like the Saudi Pro League is in the top 5, so Liga is not a top 5 league, whereas Saudi Pro League is. So.
And this is not the most dramatic thing he said. He also said, "I am Portuguese, but I belong to Saudi Arabia."
Saudi Arabia.
How can you say that, please?
I know. There's a company man, if ever I heard one.
Yeah. No, but we all know that he's linked with a contract, and because of, I think, the next World Cup attribution, Saudi Arabia wants it, so he needs to say that. But yeah, it's a shame for a player like that to act like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if his initial tweet a few weeks ago about the chapter being closed was just because he knew that the Club World Cup was getting more eyes on it. He goes, "Oh, nobody's paying attention to me. I need to say something."
Yeah. He's a Manchester United guy, after all.
I love Mark 1 Ronaldo was fantastic.
It's a joke, but he was. Okay, Sean, I think we saw everything today.
All right, and everyone tomorrow we'll be back at normal time slot, 7 a.m. 7 a.m. here, 12 in England, 1 p.m. and 13, however you say it in France. How you say it in France, Leo? What time tomorrow?
1 p.m. But 13.
And we'll have Daniel will be back, some of the other guys. Pedro will be back talking about the games and everything and all his bets and all kinds of stuff. So make sure you tune back in tomorrow. We got a big week this week. There's going to be a couple days in the middle where we have some time to talk about other things. So if you have any comments, if you want us to talk about anything, leave us comments here, YouTube, X. You see the accounts at the bottom there, Sports Talk United, and all these other platforms, and we will make sure we will talk about whatever you want to get. Maybe we'll get Sully on. Sully, make sure answer those calls. All right. Thanks everybody for watching today, and enjoy the games today and tonight.
Yeah. Have a nice day, Sean. Have a nice day, Patrick.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye.